Most wars are decided before the first battle even happens. In psychiatry, you don't win wars on the battlefield, you win them in preparation. And this goes for real life too. In real life, you win wars that you are prepared for. You can't win a war that you didn't prepare for. And preparation is the most important fact of the war, because without being ready or without knowing what is approaching your way, without being aware that a war is coming to your way, you can't prepare for the war. And if you can't prepare for the war, or you're not prepared for the war that is coming your way, that is going to end bad, because you will lose. Wars require preparation, maybe years of preparation, not just 1 second or 2 second decisions, but legit decisions that are made through years. You need to plan them, prepare them, and just be ready to do what is needed to be done. Because of this fact, most countries make preparations for many other countries they deem as rivals or enemies of their state, so that when war comes, they would be prepared for it. They sometimes revision these plans, sometimes they change these plans, but they constantly do this. But not all countries and not all states in their all time does this. This is a very governmental thing to do, because some governments say that we are not going to go to a war, and they never prepare for it. And this costs a lot when a country decides to attack them, or they have to attack another country. If you know, you know. So in today's video, we are going to talk about why wars are won before they start. Now, most of the wars requires a lot of preparation. Alliances, gold, army positioning. If you do not prepare these things, you lose before even you start, fighting. Propaganda. You need to create a legend. You maybe need to make a lot of propaganda so that you can keep people's morals higher. Maybe you need to have the morality high ground, and maybe you need other things like achieving total number of soldiers higher than normally you have. Let's say you don't have enough total soldiers to attack one country, but if you found their enemies and made alliances with them, and now you can match their strength. These kind of preparations requires long times, not some kind of time frame that is like 1 month or 1 day or 2 months to 3 months. They require years. These things are the most important facts of the wars. Who is prepared enough for a war? These kind of things are the most important side effects. Let's look at Iran. Iran, as I said in my many videos, Iran made basically a legend about the fact that eventually America was going to attack them. They spread this a lot, and they basically said to their own population that America is going to eventually attack us, and they actually gained control through this, and basically made people expect a war approaching their way. And it took a long time. This basically took like 20 years of their time, because as you may know, certain time frames, like for certain eras, when an era change, you need to change your maybe narrative, you need to change your plans. And Iran basically committed to this producing of a legend that allowed them to gain control and make people be ready for war in mentality wise, and allow them to do things that normally wouldn't be accepted, like raising taxes for having more and more factories to produce weapons. Now, if you do not have enough gold, or if you don't have enough money on your bank, you may go into debt and you may not take the hits that you normally can take from a country's attack, because you need to spend money while you are in war, and you need to spend a lot of money while you're in war. And if you started the war with zero money, then that means you are going to be in debt. However big you are, it is going to cost a lot. But if you prepared in advance and put money into your bank because you were expecting a war to come to your way, then that means that you start with +1. And if let's say that you have alliances that allow you to access to weapons that normally you can access, and this would mean that you can up your strength without actually needing to go through a lot of process, like inventing, producing companies that does innovation and things such as these. You don't have to need to work with these because you now have alliances that gives you these technologies. Army positioning is the most important fact, because where is your army located? Where are you expecting to meet with your army? And what's the plan? More important than even army positioning is what's the direction. When I say direction, what's the as I talked about fronts of wars in Trump's invasion, and said that some force should be here and mainly focus on the east side to enter the flatlands. That's a direction. And if you don't have a direction and you're starting a war, that means that it is going to end bad. And it seems to me that in today's world, Iran was very prepared for this war. Maybe not through, they had problems like popular opinion being low, and their population basically having a lot of protest. But these things were instantly went away after I'm going to be generous and say 1 month. They basically went away because you gave them a reason to come together, and popular opinion didn't matter much, because now control was much more important, and they could use war as a propaganda tool, the war that was happening as a propaganda tool, and basically produce control. Normally they didn't have much of a control in these areas, but now they had it because you gave them that. And that's the part of the war that no one seems to be understand. How prepared are you for it? Were you expecting it, or were you not expecting it? If you were, what was the preparations you did? Did you make alliances so that you would have kamikaze drones? Did you had alliances so you could access maybe part of the land that you normally can't access, that being like east and west, right? But these parts of the lands are, as you know, still protected. Even the east side is protected by mountains, even though there are still a lot of flatlands. There is like a singular mountain that you need to go through, and that's better than many mountains. That's why I am saying go through the east. But if you had, I don't know, alliances up in the north, in the Turkish sides, Turkish countries that like Turkmenistan and such, that borders Iran, and you go through their borders, you wouldn't have to think about any of this. Like, there are still mountains in here, but it doesn't go fully. Like it goes like this. It goes like this, and mountains are much more rather here. This part of the lands are much more flat. You could just enter Iran's most important cities and basically cripple Iran. Now, one more thing that is much more important that people realize it is about preparation is morale and belief. If your side doesn't believe in the war, if they don't think that they are the ones that have the righteousness of this war, then there is no way that your army is going to be okay with attacking another country. They are going to be anxious. They are going to be unruly. There is no way that a human being would look at a war and think to themselves that, oh, we are not righteous ones at this war. In fact, we shouldn't even be having this war, but I now need to go die in a mountain in Iran. How much of a sense does it make? Even if your army is bigger, it kind of doesn't matter at that point, because nobody wants to do that. And these kind of things are very important, because if you don't have the moral high ground, you can't really say to your people that, see, we are supposed to win this war, we are supposed to be the ones that we are the ones that are right, maybe by religion, maybe by other means. And I personally don't even think that Iran gets their moral righteousness from religion. It literally gets their moral righteousness from the mistakes of American politicians, like being related to Epstein. That's maybe the most important fact of this war. Now, many wars happen in these time frames that was not prepared enough for it, and these bad preparations can cause a war that, even if you win, to have a lot of casualties. In Iraq war, where America attacked, America won that war without a doubt. However, the preparation of it was so messed up that the amount of casualties that American side, or maybe let's go with much more of a NATO side. NATO side shouldn't have take any of those casualties if they made the correct preparations. Yes, Iraq army was middle of the ground, so they weren't bad, they weren't good, but they made Iraq side made preparations, but especially American side made very messy preparations, and they just completely went through the numbers, because Iraq basically fought against the entire Western world, and you can't fight that kind of war because you had so many alliances that you basically steamrolled this country. But does it mean that it was a very good preparation or anything like that? No, it was very bad and this cost a lot of lives. There are many American viewers in my channel. I ask you, did you have fathers or maybe cousins, maybe brothers that died in Iraq war? I'm here to say to you that could have been prevented with just simply better preparation. It was very messy, and that caused, even though they won, it didn't feel like they won. And Afghanistan war was one more example of that too, because even if you basically gained the control of the 99% of the country, but it didn't matter because you gave unnecessary casualties because of messy planning, messy preparation, and basically not being ready for this war caused this entire war to be just have a lot of casualties that it was pointless. Like, you guys, in fact, Afghanistan war, even though I said this, that army won because of the ground battles were won, because the 99% of the Afghanistan was under the control of basically America, and America was giving to the next guys in the power, saying that they were like liberals and such, which didn't even make sense, because the battle just reveals the result. These battles reveals the result of these battles. It doesn't decide who won. And when everything ended in Afghanistan war, we seen how much of a messy preparation that it was done. Even when they decided to go out of Afghanistan, they did it in such a messy way. They lost $1 trillion worth of equipment there. Afghanistan has an insane level of army equipments now that they shouldn't even dream of. Like they shouldn't even be able to dream of that kind of equipment on them. They were fucking gods on the mountains, and now they have armored carriers. That's insane. That's how messy the entire operations were. America has this strange pattern. Yes, strange pattern that it enters wars without preparation, and they are very uncommitted. They are very uncommitted to the wars that they declared. Like, I don't understand this. I truly don't understand this. The commitment issues to these wars are such a high at such high levels that it comes to the point of losing the wars that you won the battles of, which doesn't make sense. And this is not just America problem. These kind of problems happened with Russia. It happened with my own country. Well, not as Turkey, but more as a Ottoman Empire. And it happened with, in history this happened a lot. This is much more of a governmental issue and mentality issue of how you look at the war. And it can be, I guess, cultural too, because at this point it seems much more of a cultural thing to me, because yes, my country had these kind of problems in our history, but not as much as Americans did. Like, you guys won many of the battles but lose some of the most laughingly easy wars, to be honest. And you might be like, oh, Afghanistan war wasn't easy, Iraq war wasn't easy. You had godlike army, you had godlike military on your side. The only thing that was lacking was preparation, and you lost because you didn't prepare for it. It was laughing matter. These wars were laughing matter. Even now in Iran war, the amount of unpreparedness of it shows. Like, it was a hasty decision. There was no preparation for it. Maybe there was preparation on the side of propaganda, and well, even though they lost propaganda, let's say they had preparations for it. But when I look at the army side, preparations seems lacking. But most importantly, governmental decisions on wars seems very, very lacking. Like, bureaucracy on especially America seems to fail at wars because they lack direction and commitment to the wars, and they don't even lack information about these wars. They don't lack the information that how to basically change this country into an actual liberal country. They don't lack that, but it's just that they don't commit to it, and they always try to take this easy path to it, and it always fails. And when it fails, they're like, oh, how come we failed? Of course you did. You didn't make the preparation correctly. You didn't have a direction. You just went, army, go there, and they went there and they were successful. They gave many casualties, but they were successful. But an army can be as successful as the decisions that it was made. And this decisions that was made was always lacking in comparison to other wars, especially in America's own history. There were many wars that they had prepared and won because of those preparations, even when they didn't have the higher ground in army side. I hope you guys liked this video. This is done. The talking points is done. I hope you guys like the video. Please like and subscribe. And if you actually watched the video for if you actually watched the video to this point, like, make a comment. Make yourselves known, so that I would maybe talk. Because if you are actually watching at this point, that means you're here to stay, right? I would personally understand. Have a good day, though. I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. Have a good day.